how to help someone you love who's going through it. We have all been stressed. We have all been chaotic. We have all experienced friends who are just having a tough time. In fact, we've been through that too. So, the first question I want you guys to think about as we get into this is one, how do you like to be comforted? When you are experiencing stress, when you're sad, when you're angry, how do you like to be comforted? Think about that for a minute because a lot of us don't always know what it is we want or what we need. But the more that you can recognize, are you someone who wants to be hugged? Are you wanting to be left alone? What do you need when you get upset? When you get upset, thinking about how you want to be comforted is really, really helpful. But I'm going to ask you when we're working with somebody else, like a friend or a loved one, forget that. Okay. I want you to completely put that to the side for a minute of what you need or how you like to be comforted. And the reason that I say that is we don't want to go into helping other people with the premise of assumptions that what works for me works for them. Because this is where we get into a tricky place when you're dealing with relationships and communication and stuff like that, is that we tend to assume that what worked for me works for you. And so that is one of the first things I want you to put aside is the first question that you really want to ask is, who do you need me to be for you right now? Do you need a friend who's a good listener or do you want feedback? And it was such a game changer in that moment to be able to really throw at them, who do you need me to be for you? Because how many times has a friend showed up and given you all this advice and told you what to do, and you just, it's like, I'm not even ready for that, or it pisses you off, or what have you. It's really important to say, what role can I play for you right now? Because that's first going to give you the a real step in and a step up to being of service and of help because we don't know what they need. And the moment we do know what they need, then we can really jump in. When we're in a stress state, right? Think about stress states as they're low frequency energy. They typically, when you go into the low frequencies of sadness, guilt, worry, stress, fear, high fear, we tend to not want to take a lot of action. And the, what we need in those moments typically is that we need to experience those emotions, but they're usually rather heavy that they're hard to sit with. And then the next stress level up or energy frequency up is the anger and the fighter state. And so when we go into things like frustration and anger, that has a very different need too than the guilt and the worry. And you'll see this in people too, right? It's a very different experience being around someone who is angry than it is being around someone who's really sad. And so we just always want to check in with them. It's like, where are they at? Um, and what do you need right now? Do you just need someone to vent at? Do you just need someone to yell at? And like, so I don't have to take it personally. I know my mother loved the woman to death, but it's like when I get angry, sometimes she takes things really personally, and I'm like, this isn't about you. Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. And it's like, can't I just be mad? Can't you just listen and let me be mad? And it's hard for some people to do that if we don't set up the premise of, hey, here's what I need, and here's how you can be helpful. I just need to yell and scream. The next step of what we want to do is we want to stop fixing. This, if there's anything you're going to learn tonight, this is a big one. And it was something that I learned through coaching training. We see things from a very different vantage point typically versus the context of what someone is going through. We want to help, we want to stop their pain, we want to give them all the tools and resources to get out of it. I know having a daughter when she's 7 years old, when she comes home telling me about what her friends have said, I want to just go fix it, but I can't. That's not my job, right? My job is to help her come up with the right solutions, to learn the tools that she can then find helpful, that she can implement, that she feels are plausible, right? Because if I come at someone or even a friend, right? They broke up with their boyfriend, he's acting like a jerk or girlfriend, and they're acting like total jerks. It's so quick and easy to just say, "Hey, just forget about them. Just like stop doing this, start doing this, da 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 da." But that's the logical thing to do. And that's where it becomes so easy to just say, do this. But they're still going through the emotions, and the emotions are what are driving the actions. And so we want to get down to the emotional level because once emotions start to be processed, they can be put to the side, they can be released, and they can be let go. And so we want to stop fixing. We want to stop jumping in. And that was something I learned as a coach is that you can't start by fixing. Even if it's a question, it's like, well, what are you going to do differently? That's not always a helpful question when you haven't gotten to the root of what the issue is to begin with. So we want to stop asking the fixing questions versus like, tell me what's going on. How did that make you feel? What was the context? Like, what's coming up for you when these things happen? We want to get them in their element, talking about the emotion that is sparking them and driving them. And then we can begin to be on their page, be in their context, holding the space for them to process the emotion. And then we can start moving them forward into what they would like to proactively do to move forward too. Next, listening 101, listening without judgment, right? How do we listen? Listening also requires feedback in some ways. So the idea is listening without judgment. We want to not judge whatever is coming out of their mouth, no matter what our experience is telling us. We want to acknowledge, and you don't have to say what I'm hearing you, it's not that makes sense to me. It's understandable you would feel that way given what you're telling me. When you're working with clients, they're going to share like not that you guys are working with clients, but when you're working with a friend, they're going to say some really crazy stuff that you might not always agree with. But we have to get on, you don't have to, but if you want to be helpful to them, it's getting on their page and meeting them where they're at. That it's understandable you would feel this way given how much you liked your significant other and that it is very hurtful. It sounds like it is very hurtful the way that they're treating you, right? And so we want to be a good listener and not necessarily interject our opinions yet unless we've been asked to or we feel that's time for it. I always say in my book, I started out with there's three things we need in order to be really powerful practitioners. You want to understand, you want to be curious, you want to get context, and you want to ask questions, right? Because those three things, when you come at it with curiosity, are going to open up a lot more interest of getting the context of what is going on for that person. It's like, wow, you like going dancing at 5 in the morning? That's crazy. But if you can understand that person context, why that's such a great time, what's going on for them, that's when we can then begin to ask the right questions to help them find their own answers. We need to guide them through love and holding space because the truth is there is nobody who knows you better than you know you. You've lived every moment of your life. And this is what I'm writing my next self help book about right now. It's that you are your own best resource. We just haven't had the tools to figure it out. Or you've been relying on other people and giving your power away to other people, right? We live our life wanting certainty and clarity, and we try to find that before we usually take action. But we need to start listening to ourselves too. And we need to ask ourselves the right questions. And that's why to be of service to other people is to ask the right questions. And that's what we'll get into also is how do you ask the right questions? What does that mean, the right question? So there's a million ways to communicate, but one of the top things that I've learned and that I write about in my practitioner guide is asking what questions, not why. It's a really strange thing to think about. It's a relatively simple tool to understand, but then you have to train your mind to it. So it's like, why do you do that? Right? Remember, communication is only 7% of what the actual words were said, right? Why do you do that? But there's a assumption, there's an inflection, there's all of this inner context that comes with the questions we ask. Why did you do that? It's like, man, what a shamey, blamey question. I don't know why I did that. If I knew why I did that, I wouldn't have done it. You're not going to get a great answer back. It's like, what happened? Why don't you start by telling me what happened? Right? Now you're asking it in a different way. and you're going to get a different answer. Why did you do that? I don't know. What did you do? Okay, there's still some like shamey blaminess in there, but it's a different question. So you can play around with it. Questions are so powerful. When you ask a good question, that is, and rule number two, right? So we're going to switch why to what, but we're also going to start asking questions that are open ended. And what does that mean? That means you're not asking a question that can end in yes or no, because that's all you're going to get. Valentina, yes, thank you. That is what I always tell my husband. Don't ask me why. What a trigger, right? Isn't it crazy? It's like interesting about asking questions. It's you're a good question will get the mind thinking. And the reason that's important is that when you're going through an emotional state, like an anger or frustration or sad or guilt, those lower frequency energies, when you ask a really empowering question, it gets the mind thinking differently. And when you change the way you think, you can change the way you feel. And it changes, it's like even sometimes just the slightest shift to the left of a perspective gives a whole new insight and view on it that can get that person seeing a little bit differently and shifting into a new place because these low frequency energies, they want to be met. There's a couple things that they need, right? So when you're in that very low state, they just want to be acknowledged. They want a safe place to feel their feelings. And that's where holding space comes from. I love to use the analogy of holding space as like a hug, right? Again, you're not saying or doing anything other than holding space for that person to have the experience they're having. How can hypnosis help? Hypnosis is the state between awake and sleep. So you go through it every night and every morning. And it's what happens in the mind is um, our mind, as we're falling asleep or waking up, is going through different brain waves. So you're going to go from like beta to alpha to theta, delta, gamma, all of that, and up and down. So it is a traceable state. There is science behind it. This is not woo woo stuff. It is real. It is not being under control like you see in the movies. It is a deep state of relaxation with an acute focus. Now, one of the first things, and we'll go through some of this too, and I'll show you how to do it. But one of the first things when someone's going through an emotion and they're feeling, sometimes there's a lot of embarrassment that comes up with emotions. One of the first things I'll have a client do if they're in my office and they're feeling embarrassed or they're feeling overwhelmed, I just have them close their eyes. It seems really rudimentary and it seems really silly, but closing your eyes can do so much. I know that when clients are in my office, sometimes when they start to get embarrassed, they'll even close their eyes. It's like they don't want you to see them. And so it gives them a level, one, it gives them a level of protection to just let go of stimulus. The eyes take in so much stimulus that by closing the eyes, it gives them permission to just shut down a little bit more of that stimulus to go inward. And then it's helping them refocus, wherein is meeting them where they're at, right? Think of closing your eyes as creating that safe space to be. And then it's like, I'm here for you, comforting words, acknowledgement. It's okay, you're feeling this way, right? We want to normalize the emotion. The more that you can normalize an emotion, the more it can take the power away from it. Because emotions are like trains. If you block them coming into the station, they're going to keep coming into the station. So let them come in, give them a place to park, unload them, and they can then move on. And by helping them focus, this is then also an interesting thing because hypnosis, again, is not about block the thoughts. It's giving the mind things to think about. So if you'd like, you may close your eyes right now. I want you to think about the sounds to the left of you, right? You're now taking your awareness and you're just trying to focus on the sounds that are going on to the left. Now move them to the right and back and forth. I'm not telling your mind that anything other than we're shifting your awareness. You're placing your thoughts and awareness somewhere else. And when you can do that, right, it's like now, excuse me, I want you to think about wiggling your toes. When you think about wiggling your toes, Like, can you feel the socks on your feet? Right? You're giving the mind things to think about. And if you can do that with your friend, it's like, I want you to think about what it would feel like to just relax your stomach muscles because we that's where we hold guilt and frustration is in the stomach and lower back. And it's like, let your stomach relax. And you're just redirecting attention to places outside of that chaos in the mind. Because remember, when we go into these emotional states, we do get myopic. We live in our head, get them back in their body, right? Or you can, it's the same thing a lot of therapists will tell you. It's, I want you to find 5 things in the room. You're just placing your awareness outside of yourself into something else. And then it's figuring out, right? Once you've acknowledged and met someone where they're at, then you can begin to shift them forward. It's like in an ideal situation, what would you want that outcome to be? So, future imagining, it's helping them get the vision of how do you move through that is, because I have a couple free resources I want to tell you about too for everybody, just in terms of what I built on my website and platforms and stuff. And one of them is actually really cool. Okay, so one of the things that made a long time ago, not too long ago, but I made things called insight cards, and it was originally for one of my apps that I built. But I felt I love a good tarot card. Who doesn't? But I always felt like I was like deferring out to spirit. And I was like, but I think we all have our own answers. So I created these cards that are like coaching cards. They're called insight cards. So like you can see them, it's like the moon. And I wrote up my own reveals for them of what each of them means. But I kept asking myself, how do I get these cards into the hands of people who want to use them? So here at homehypnosis.com/insight cards, they're free for you to go and use. So the idea is that what you'll do is you'll think about what it is you want answered. It's going to pull a card for you and it's going to ask you to look at the card and find the metaphors in it of what you're going through. Find out what does it show you? What is it trying to show you? And it really is going to help you find your own answers because I do believe that inside of us we do have our own answers. We haven't learned to listen to them strongly yet. And so then it'll walk you through a couple different prompts with the card and it will show you the reveal card too. There's a journal that I just am waiting for the publish to be finished publishing, which should be out in the next couple days, that goes along with the cards, but the cards are always free online on my website. I just happen to have printed them. They're just expensive to print, and I'm like, why do I want to make people buy things if I just want them to enjoy them? You don't even have to put your email in. That's just there for you guys, so enjoy them. um, the next thing is we all need support, and I wanted to make my hypnosis library accessible to everybody for free. So at homehypnosis.com/library, or it's under the free tab on my website, just put your email in. It's going to give you access to all of these different recordings. I'm adding new ones daily and weekly, and you can add it so that you can make the recordings so that it goes to bed, or you can stay awake and it'll wake you up. So again, they're all there. They're for you. If there's something you want to see in there that's not there, tell me. I want to load it up, put it in the suggestion category because I do listen to those. Let me think. I think that was everything I had. These are my 2 books, Advanced Hypnosis. So if anyone's a practitioner, it's great general reading. There's 45 chapters, 555 pages of information on inductions. It does not go over scripts. It's everything beyond that. You can get it on Amazon. You can also find the link on my site. This is the Insight Card Journal that you can buy to go along with the online deck.